This is the fight of our lives, and we're gonna win, whatever it takes.
Avengers Endgame was the perfect ending to the Infinity Saga, but the movie itself had a few mistakes, although they're not easy to spot. There are some serious inconsistencies that took place so fast, you might not have noticed them on your first watch through, or even your fifth. Let's take a look at some of these movie mistakes and see why our heroes didn't get their time-traveling movie references as wrong as we thought. Ant-Man has an incredible suit that gives him some impressive abilities, but as far as I know, teleportation isn't one of them. In the final battle of Avengers Endgame, Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne head to the trusty van to fix the quantum tunnel. The two tell Tony Stark it'll take about 10 minutes for them to complete their task. But maybe Scott finished up early because you can see Giant Man in the background while he's supposed to be helping Hope. Apparently Scott can be in two places at once. While there are a few slip-ups in the cinematic battle scene, there was one very small detail they got right, even if some fans didn't notice. Just when it seemed as though all hope was lost, in the final battle against Thanos and his minions, the formerly dusted heroes started appearing through portals. The bigger the group, the bigger the portal. But check out the one the Wasp flies through. Since she was in her smaller state, she got a mini insect-size opening, since that's all she needed. We all know that Thanos isn't exactly the best dad in the universe, but you have to admit he's managed to cultivate some incredibly powerful kids, even if his adoption process is a little unorthodox. Cull Obsidian is a loyal member of the Black Order and an incredibly powerful one. But is he mighty enough to be in two places at once? Because during a big battle scene, Redditor user T-Prime111 pointed out that we see Captain America strike Cull Obsidian, and then we see the child of Thanos fighting Drax and Korg instead. Time travel is a tricky topic, but we noticed something amiss when our heroes traveled back in time to the Battle of New York. As Avengers Endgame confirmed, this momentous event in Marvel movie history took place in the year 2012. But let's look at the phone that Jasper Sitwell's using right before everyone in the theater started losing their minds because Cap said,
"Hail, Andrew."
He's clearly using a Samsung Galaxy S6. But this nifty little number wasn't released until 2015. Does Jasper have his own time travel powers that he uses only to skip a generation or two of phones? Nebula and Rhodey went to Morag in order to obtain something of extreme importance and immeasurable power. No, I'm not talking about Star-Lord's dance moves.
So he's an idiot.
I'm talking about the orb which our heroes knew contained the Power Stone. Needless to say, they encountered Peter Quill, who was just about to take it for his own, but then there was something missing from the planet. Where was Korath the Pursuer? He was there in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was following orders from Ronan to get the orb, which led him into conflict with Peter. So it seems strange that he was missing when Nebula and Rhodey went back in time to this fateful day on Morag. Even after Avengers Endgame, we still have a ton of questions about the quantum realm, but a new piece of information we learned calls a precious Marvel movie into question. Scott Lang was trapped in the quantum realm since the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and wasn't released until 5 years later, but he revealed that time works differently in the quantum realm.
See, the rules of the quantum realm aren't like they are up here.
And although he was gone for 5 years, it was really only 5 hours in his time. I mean, just look at Paul Rudd, the man simply does not age. But Janet Van Dyne was much younger when she was trapped in the quantum realm, and 30 years later she emerged looking as though she's aged the full 30 years. But if we go by Scott's statement a year equals an hour in there, then Janet was really only in there for 30 hours and not 2 days, so why does she look so different? It should have been a digitally de-aged Michelle Pfeiffer. Ooh. When faced with a serious planet-threatening danger, sometimes the safest thing you can do is shrink down and wait for it all to blow over. At least that's what Scott Lang did when the Avengers facility was attacked during Endgame. Even though it happened real fast, you can see Scott shrink himself down, which kept him safe during the blast. I may not use the word quantum as much as the scientists in the MCU, but I have seen a lot of sci-fi movies. Not that I like to brag about it or anything. But all the films they discredited in Endgame went against how time travel works in the MCU. Sure, we had to throw out the cinematic classic Back to the Future, but Rhodey mentioned Star Trek, and the time travel there is actually similar to the MCU version. Spock Prime even tried to ensure that everything would be close to normal as possible on the new timeline. Plus, he mentions the Terminator, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Somewhere in Time, which do follow the predestination paradox. Which means actions in the past cause the future to unfold as it has always done, which is how it worked for the MCU. We all know being a superhero means fighting against the forces of evil and putting your life on the line. But nobody ever talks about how literally messy it is to stop crime. During the Battle of New York, Captain America's iconic red, white, and blue outfit was a little worse for wear by the time the battle was over. Or at least that's what we saw in the Avengers. Because when Cap encountered his 2012 self during Endgame, his clothes looked positively pristine when they should have been really real filthy. So much dust.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
One of the lingering mysteries I don't think we'll ever know the answer to is how did Gamora manage to track down the Soul Stone on Vormir? Because back in Guardians of the Galaxy, she didn't even know what the Infinity Stones were until she was filled in by the Collector. She knew Thanos wanted it and was smart enough to figure out that meant he probably shouldn't get it, but it was clear she didn't have the whole picture. She even said whatever is in this orb right after seeing a demonstration of its power. Yet in Endgame we saw Gamora from 2014 tell Nebula that Thanos had found an Infinity Stone, when really she shouldn't have known about them or the orb wouldn't have been that much of a surprise. The movie didn't go into great detail about the differences between Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet and Tony's Nano Gauntlet, but these became more obvious in the final battle. Thanos' is made of much stronger stuff, so it's able to activate without damaging the user, while the same can't be said for the Nano Gauntlet. Not to besmirch the good name of the late great Tony Stark, who did manage to discover time travel in a single day, but this invention couldn't compare to good old-fashioned dwarven ingenuity.
Boom!
When Natasha Romanoff leaves what's left of our heroes, she seems a little stressed out. Since she's dining on peanut butter sandwiches, missing her hair dye appointments, and trying to keep what's left of the world from falling apart, it's safe to say she's probably busy. But maybe she has a little bit more time for leisurely activities than we thought, since she has a pair of ballet slippers in the chair next to her. In the comics, Natasha is a ballerina before making a bit of a career change to a secret agent. And in the MCU, dance was something she learned in the Red Room, making these shoes a surprisingly subtle callback. A lot of fans feel like Game of Thrones kind of phoned in its final season, and the fact that they left a Starbucks cup and a water bottle in important scenes didn't help matters. Some fans worried Endgame made a similar mistake when they spotted this drink can when Rocket and Thor go back in time to retrieve the Reality Stone. But there's actually a reasonable explanation here. You see, Thor was holding a drink can before putting it down and lamenting to Rocket. It was a subtle placement, but it explains why this distinctly earthen object was found in Asgard. Did you notice when Captain Marvel grapples with Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet seems to react to her touch? This little detail is because our hero can absorb energy and use it to power her own attacks. She's absorbing the energy from the Infinity Stones, causing the glow to diminish on Thanos' arm and brighten up near her hand. This helped her charge enough to shrug off Thanos' headbutt and stand against him for any length of time. Something pointed out by YouTuber The Canadian Lad. Hey, that boy's got a good eye there, eh? To be honest, I thought we're gonna have to wait until the end of the movie to see our heroes get revenge on Thanos. And I definitely didn't think his head was gonna fly off in a Disney movie. But there was one continuity error in the scene when our heroes confront the Mad Titan after he retired to his quiet farmstead. We see Captain Marvel and War Machine restraining him while he's being interrogated. But then, Bruce Banner yells at him, and when he punches the Mad Titan, our heroes are standing off to the side, and Thanos is all alone. Poor Scott Lang emerged from the quantum realm to learn that 5 long years had gone by, and he was understandably desperate to see if his daughter Cassie was alright. He looked for her name on a memorial for victims of the decimation, but it would have been easier to see if she was listed if the names were actually in alphabetical order. Instead, it seems like they threw all the last names beginning with L together and just called it a day. Natasha Romanoff had a rough life, but even after becoming an Avenger, she hardly got the recognition she deserved, even within her own team. During one scene, Steve Rogers and Natasha catch up, and Steve tells her,
I think we both need to get a life.
to which she replied,
You first.
but near the end of the movie, old Cap tells Sam,
Maybe I'll try some of that life Tony was telling me to get.
when it was really Natasha who pushed him to get a life. Maybe he was recalling an old conversation he had with Tony, but it seemed like Natasha was overlooked once again. We all know the Incredible Hulk hates having to take the stairs, but if you're not an elevator aficionado, you might not have noticed this continuity error. Back in the Avengers, we saw the interior of this particular elevator, which later held our heroes. But in Endgame, the interior is completely different than it was the first time around, even though it should have looked exactly the same. It's all in the details, folks. Smart Hulk may have to get all of his suits custom made now, but he has a surprisingly sunny attitude. He was even kind enough to share some of his magic disappearing tacos with Ant-Man after his got blown away. If you look closely, you can see Smart Hulk picks up 2 tacos in his giant hand, yet when Scott takes them, he suddenly only has a single lonely taco. And as we all know, 2 tacos are always better than 1. Did you manage to spot any of these errors on your own, or did you find one we missed? Leave your analysis of the Endgame mistakes in the comment section below, and don't forget to click subscribe for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.